What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Red Room Podcast. Today, I'm with my friend and colleague, Ben Sanguinetti. Woo! How are you, dude?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm
Thanks
good.
for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, Ben, the agency.
Yeah.
We've been here for like a good couple years. What do you think of the brokerage? I love it.
Oh, yeah. I love the brokerage. Definitely kind of being here was a miracle in a sense, but it's been pretty fun throughout the whole process. And you know, I mean, as you know, our mentor Jeff is just absolutely amazing.
What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
And a great manager. And I couldn't ask for a better spot to be at.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun here. I think when I was looking for just a brokerage to be a part of, I think it was just the energy that Jeff had and just the vibe of the room, right, and just the energy that everyone brought. And then of course we do these contract classes, which are really great. That just keeps us like up to date with the laws 100%. And just, you know, we know everything. So Ben, let's start from the beginning. Born and raised, where is Silicon Valley home
San
here?
Jose.
San Jose?
I'm probably one of the last guys standing in the area that could tell you about farmland and all that good stuff. My grandfather was a farmer. So I grew up with Sicilian roots. My mom's side, 100% Sicilian. Father, mainly Italian. We got a little bit of, Spanish and Irish, which my 100% Sicilian wife gives me a hard time that I'm not 100%, but I'm close. But my grandfather had some land here, had a farm. All my uncles and my father at one point all picked prunes and cherries and the whole nine yards. So I grew up with cool stories with that. And where I grew up, remember Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yes.
And they would walk next door to the grandparents' house. Yeah. That was me. So I grew up on the same block. Next door was my cousin. And then the next door after that was my grandparents.
That's so cool. So you're like
so
all
we're just
right
all
there, little family compound.
Right there.
Yeah.
So it was like that the whole time I grew up, and it was pretty cool. The pretty unique situation that I'm really grateful for now. Looking back on it, not many people have that kind of story. So
yeah, no, that's awesome that you all were so close. I was fortunate in the same sense too. I had both set of grandparents like literally 5-10 minutes away from me in Scotts Valley over the hill. So yeah. Very fortunate. I totally get that. So where do you know where the farm like was or the like?
If you Bay Area, where Chenoweth Avenue is, and near Gunderson High School, that's where the farm was. So it was there before Gunderson High School became Gunderson High School. And so yeah, that's where he had 3 big lots, and it was divvied up between my mom and my uncle. And that was actually my first transaction was my parents' place. So it was like bittersweet selling off part of the farmland and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then recently too, my uncle, we're in contract right now with my uncle's place too, but these huge lots, 12,000 square foot lots.
Wow.
And it was actually a very interesting process on the realtor side of things. Even with my parents' place and now with my uncle's, is the comps were terrible to have to comp out because there's literally nothing in San Jose that's a 12,000 square foot lot. Yeah. So it was difficult to comp out and get everything ready to go for what the price point should be and everything like that. So it was a great learning experience to make sure. So what did you have
to do? I mean,
so basically, honestly, the strategy is the comps are the comps. That's the truth of it. So, no matter what, every realtor is going to pull those comps out and that's going to be the comp. So it was a lot of selling it of what this really is and making sure people understand, you're comping this, but it's a 12,000 square foot lot.
Yeah.
So, so it was a really great experience for me of, I'm just going to sell, the shit out of this thing the best that I can, and make sure people realize that this is a 12,000 square foot lot.
Yeah.
So my parents' place was a little bit different process. I was brand new back then. But we got good price points then. But this one, there was a lot more selling involved because I was a little bit more evolved in my real estate career during that time as well. So that was interesting process and, it worked out. So
that's cool. Did you have to like pack up everything? Was that kind of like a bittersweet moment?
So with my parents' place, super bittersweet, holding it together, all that stuff, childhood home.
Yeah.
Definitely by the end of the process, not going to lie, crying like a baby through that whole thing.
Playing kickball in the street, right, baseball.
Yeah. So lots of memories there, but that's how it goes. It's actually a big part of what makes me a good realtor is I really understand a lot more of that emotional side of things.
Yeah.
Because yes, I understand anyone and a lot of clients that I'm dealing with have, raised your kids here, this and that. I mean, this is soil my grandfather touched, right?
Yeah.
So I understand the emotional side of things, but when it comes to that, I really can understand where people are coming from of believing where their roots are, definitely. So yeah.
Well, it's in the positive side of things, you're helping your family out, and you get to stay in San Jose and kind of like just help bring that, positive energy moving forward and helping out other people. That's cool, man.
Yeah, definitely. And well, the thing is too, for me is, background wise, like nobody can really explain to you like the history on a lot of different parts. Right. And explain to you that used to be farmland over there and there. And, my grandparents and even my wife's grandparents all work at the cannery, the old San Jose cannery. And so there's a lot of things like that not too many people even understand anymore in this area. So it's cool to be part of the Silicon Valley boom, but it's definitely really, it's bittersweet to see how much it's changed through the years. Yeah.
What was that like, kind of seeing all the tech stuff really start to kind of like?
So I grew up like in the 90s, right? So 90s is when everything kind of started ticking up, and you don't really know what you're a part of until later on. You're like, this is Apple. Like Steve Jobs is like in my neighborhood, right? Like, so it's pretty interesting that you don't know what you're growing up in until later on. You're like, wow, like that's nuts. It's right down the road for me.
Yeah.
But it's cool because all of a sudden you're a part of this tech, like you're using it. Like my generation grew up in the internet was becoming a thing, right? And so,
do you consider yourself like a millennial? Are you in there?
Technically, I'm a millennial. Yeah. So I will say I'm probably the last generation of that in between of having the startup internet with AOL and the little sounds and everything like that, the AOL instant message and all that stuff too. A lot of people don't even know what that is anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
I remember when I got my very first email. What do you remember yours? Mine's really embarrassing. Mine was Sport Guy Blake.
Mine was, I'm just as embarrassed. Mine was DeWall something because I played football and that was my nickname.
That's awesome.
And so it was DeWall.
Yeah. I there's a couple times I still have access to it, and it's all spam. I don't know why I haven't deleted it. I probably should. Right. But there was like one time where I accidentally sent like a professional email and it auto went to this one. And I sent it and I literally saw it. And I'm like, and this is before you could do the quick unsend back. I just wrote back. I'm like, hey, so I was just straight up like super embarrassing. But this was like when I was like, 9 or 10 years old, first email. Here's my professional one. We'll continue the conversation. And the gal replied back and she was like laughing. You know? So I was like, whew, that was good. But it's like one of those things. Yeah, when email came out, did you have like a pen pal? I had a friend and we were like pen pals.
I don't remember the pen pal stuff, but just like you're messaging your buddies on AOL and BRB, right? Like the instant messaging is, this is so cool. I'm talking to my friends, right? It's just hilarious how much it's evolved now that it's just in your pocket.
So football, you mentioned that. What high school did you play for?
So I went to Valley Christian High School.
You went to Valley Christian?
Yeah.
Dude, I have so many friends that went there. I was this close to going, but it's Santa Cruz, and 17 every day is not the best. So.
So went to Valley Christian. Really lucky that I did. Great school, great sports program, especially at that time. Was fortunate to win a couple championships along the way. And more of that just taught me a lot of great team morals.
What position were you?
Believe it or not, I was a little nose tackle, lineman.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't for sure nothing special, but it was good to be part of the team. Stuff like that. And later on, I maybe could have played a little junior college ball if I wanted to, but I was just going to get banged up at that point. But I was fortunate where I played at was a high level, which is the West Catholic League around here. And so that's like the best of the best, and played with a lot of guys that went on to D1 and getting drafted and all that stuff too. And lifelong friends too. Still to this day, guys that I'm, in a part of a fantasy football league with and things like that. It's, we met all those years ago. So that's definitely, it teaches you a lot with sports, which why I love sports is it basically teaches kids how to have a job without you're not having a job. You got to be on time. You got to get to the weight room on time. You got to get there for early workouts. You got to be working hard. So true. So, that was a big thing for me that it really taught me hard work at a young age. That was a big, important part of my life.
And then from football, because I know at the office here, you have your other job too. So let's talk about that. So baseball is a huge part of
So
of your life.
my brother was the baseball player, and
You ever play Little League? Did you ever
So I did a little bit, and it was one of those things I wish I didn't give up on it. I could have played a little bit longer, kind of thing, but it just wasn't for me. So it never really was for me. Football clicked more. And then the rest was history with that. But yeah, so I grew up watching him. And I was at all the games. And in fact, too, like, funny story about that is, I was always selling. So even when I was maybe 7, and he was out in the baseball field, and they had me doing the raffle tickets. So I literally would be going around being like, get your tickets. We take checks, credit cards, cash. We'll even take your kids, whatever it is you want to do, right? And I would have the highest sales of the raffle tickets.
There you go.
So even back then, we have a business together now, right? So even back then, we're working together. He's on the field, and I'm over there hustling raffle tickets for his team and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I grew up between baseball and later on football.
Yeah, so sales has always been in your blood. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I've always had all of us, I have 2 other siblings, we'll have just kind of the entrepreneur spirit with that. I love sales, and I love just talking with people. And that's kind of, where I get into the sales stuff, is getting to know people, having that connection, and then go from there. Not necessarily the salesman you may see that, has, the huge Instagram following and all the, in the suits and everything like that. That's not really my style. I'm more of, humble beginnings, and bring that into my relationships with people. So
yeah, dude, that's what's up. So with the business, so what's the name of the company?
So South Bay Sports Training. So I've been a part of that for 17 plus years. And the transition or the transition a little bit into real estate happened about 4 years ago. I was getting ready to get my license. The pandemic hit. And I was already getting ready to do it, but that kind of like pushed me forward to get it done a little bit quicker. And it was one of those things in between of like, don't know what's going to happen. Need to have something else as a backup. But luckily we opened up the doors again after the pandemic was over, and we're like busier than we've ever been before. It was wild. But that was a crazy time for all businesses, let alone what we had to go through. I've never been in the position before where we were sitting in a room and it was, we can't make money, we can't operate. I've been in the positions before of, oh, hey, like, we need to make a lot more money this month. We're a little bit low. Let's hustle. Let's get it done. Right. I've been in that position, many times, and we get it done. It's no big deal. I've never been in a position, nor do I ever want to again, where we can't let people in the building. I don't know what we're going to do.
So what did you guys do?
Luckily, we're a part of my brother, who's one of the owners. He made things happen. He was fortunate enough to get part of the loans and everything else that was able to keep things alive during that time. And just it was a good timing with some of the other stuff going on in our business that we were able to keep things afloat long enough to when we were able to open up the doors again, make it happen.
So with that business, so what exactly do you guys do? How do you train? Like, is it Little League, or like how old? What's the age?
So
range?
as young as 4, all the way through. I'll have
batting cages.
Yeah, I'll have seniors in there doing lessons as well. So I'll have 60 plus doing lessons. They still play men's league baseball. So we do lessons. We do travel team programs. We have batting cages. We do sports equipment and apparel. Which is why I customize a lot of my own stuff as well, with baseball hats and things like that.
Oh, looks good.
So we do a little bit of everything. When I first started that years ago, I first started with him. I dropped out. It was my second time dropping out of college. And I'm a proud college dropout at this point. It just was not for me. School is not for me. I needed a job. And so he's like, hey, I got nobody to clean the place. Why don't you come clean the place? I'll give you a couple $100 a month. That's all you could afford at the time. And let alone, luckily fortunate enough, I have great guys that clean for me now, and great guys that, I'm able to operate and do other things, have them do other things for me. But he figured out really quickly too, I wasn't the cleaner. So right away he's like, okay, I need to put you somewhere else because this is just not working out. And so it was part of, I would start managing lessons, and then I started going out, which I still really enjoy to this day, which is what I'll continue to stay involved with, regardless of where my real estate career goes. Is I really enjoy working with youth organizations. So I go out and we sponsor leagues. So we sponsor leagues all over the Bay Area. We give out gift certificates and work with different leagues all across the Bay Area and even as far as Santa Cruz and all that as well. So,
Wow.
So yeah, it's a great way that we're able to give back. Back when we used to be able to give back, it'd be like, I can't do like $500. And now we're able to, give away a lot of different gift certificates of various amounts and stuff like that too. So it's really cool. And I really, really enjoy that part of the business, to be able to give back. But also too, I just enjoy like Little League and all that is just extremely important for kids.
Oh
like,
yeah.
It's where I grew up, right? And I'd even play. So it's really important that people can have that camaraderie, can have that community base. And it's a perfect segment in real estate of, that's why I found the success that I have is that community is important to me and real estate's community. So, so it's a perfect blend for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds like, actually just that is the perfect blend. Just, you get to like intersect like both worlds.
Right.
It's really cool.
Right.
So do you guys at the facility, like how do you get your trainers? Like, is it your brother?
My brother is, the other owner is, but all of our guys have at least played college baseball. Some of them are professional level too.
Oh, cool.
And so, it's guys that, they've played against.
You have guys coming in from like the Giants and stuff.
So now what's really cool is back when we first started, we used to sit in a room and be like, how are we going to get these kids to play high school baseball? Right.
Yeah.
And now we have guys that are currently playing in the major leagues. That they're coming in at their Christmas break to get an extra work. We have guys that are in the Stanford baseball program that are coming in getting extra work and just catching up with us. So it's really cool to see those kids that, I remind them that like they were little nerds, 12 years old, running around the facility and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to be able to see those guys again, become young men, and doing great things on and off the field too. That's a big important thing for us as well, is that they're just good young men at the end of the day.
Yeah. I played Little League way back in the day too. I was the best catcher in the league that couldn't throw to second base.
I do not see you being a catcher at all, by the way. Like just straight up, I could not see you getting behind the plate at all. How you ended up in that position, I have no idea.
I just ended up being there, and I could throw it to third and first like perfectly. I think it was like a little bit of a hesitation with the pitcher right there, because I'm like, dude, what if I like hit this dude when I'm trying to like sling it?
It's their job to duck. They have to duck.
I know. So I would like, I kind of like would lob it. I never could do it. But the other thing I was really good at too, because I was quick, I could do inside the park home runs. I could never hit it over the fence, but dude, I was quick around those bases, and I loved getting in pickles, especially as the catcher too.
Yeah,
I would chase him down and like just get him. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I played football a little bit too back in the day as well, and did some Columbine camps down at like UCLA and everything like that. But where I went to school, LMU didn't have a football team. And that was kind of it. So what was that thought? So you said going kind of transitioning it from the baseball stuff into real estate.
Yeah.
It was right in the middle of COVID, and is being a realtor always kind of been in your...
Yeah, that's an interesting background a little bit. So I mentioned I dropped out of school twice. School was never really for me. I still to this day, obviously, I'm dyslexic. So, and it took a while when I was younger for them to figure that out. Again, it was the 90s. They didn't know what the hell they were doing with just about anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like subtly diagnosed when I was like 6 or 7, but they still didn't really know. And luckily I had great parents who were great advocates, had a great mom who would help me with a lot of different, things of making sure I'm getting my homework done, stuff like that. But it was like always this thing of like, I get it, I don't get it. And being in the classroom, and it's just like, that's the thing, is that when it comes to anyone that has learning difficulties in any way, shape, or form, they put you in this box, right?
Yeah.
And that box, I'm not staying in that box.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally like going around finding the other box and finding a way that works for me.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated high school, did all that. And then when I was getting ready and when I was going to school, I was going to be a realtor back then. I was actually going to school to be a realtor, but I dropped out. So it was honestly always in the back of my head, and totally the reason why I dropped out is school wasn't for me, but then also looking at the path of that test that you have to take to become a realtor, all these questions, all these things. I'm not the test taker. And so I put it off for years. And then I was just at a different part of my life where I was like, screw this. I'm going to do this thing. Like I'm going to just get it done. I'm going to do it. and I'm going to go after it. Took me 2 times, but I got it on the second time, passed that exam. And that was kind of, the turning point for me it was just more of a mental thing of, I need to get over this. I need to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm happy that I did. Now, I just renewed my license, got through all that stuff. And for me, I use it as, I call a little bit of a superpower is it just takes me longer to do stuff. Like I have to go through it 20, 50, 100 times, but when I get it, I get it. And
just makes you that much more better,
Yeah,
what I mean?
100%. Yeah. And it's made me work harder.
Yeah.
And it's taken me on different paths, and different paths, that's the thing is you're dealt with certain cards that you get, and that's okay. How are you going to play the hand? So, I'm completely cool and comfortable with going the different route, taking the different path, and, finding my own success in other ways. And especially, going back to that box, just staying out of that box, because I'm cool with that. And the biggest thing that kind of always shifted my mind too is it was a big epiphany for me is one day realizing, oh, they have to keep adapting to me because I'm smarter than what they're trying to tell me in that box. Mm-hmm. And that box is not necessarily the best thing for everybody, but everyone just goes down that path. And I'm just like, no, I'm good. There's a better way.
Yeah.
And that's what's made me a good entrepreneur with everything is I see something and I'm like, that can be better. There's a better way to do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm really good at, I do it a lot by observing. And that's, through the baseball business, I'll observe what people want to buy, how people are, what people are asking for. We've adapted a lot of our products that way and stuff like that too. So that's where, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, things like that, they are, dyslexic or have some sort of learning difficulty. And it shows why, because we just think differently. And that's perfectly okay. And I love it about me now. So,
yeah, when I was living down in Los Angeles, I was working with young adults with autism, but it was mostly for like entertainment stuff. So I was like helping them write and like get behind the camera, show them how to like stream on Twitch. I was working with all the tech stuff with them. And I had one family reach out saying, "Hey, I know this isn't, there's like little groups on Facebook where you can say like, oh yeah, I work for the California Self-Determination Program, helping that out. Can you help out with help my son learn to drive?" And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, like, I love driving, mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I can help him. So I sit down and we start going through and I was pounding flashcards and he remembered everything. But when it came to the test, it was just like, we went to the DMV and he wasn't passing. And I'm like trying to sit there and I'm thinking, I'm like, what? We've been in there like handful of times. I'm like, what can we do differently here? And then he mentions just out of the blue that he thinks he's dyslexic. And I said, like the light bulb went on. I'm like, dude, I think they have audio tests at the DMV.
Yeah.
Went in there, passed it, got his license.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, it's to your point that, here's this box, but there's other ways to like I'm audio. Like I'd rather watch a YouTube tutorial on something than read a book. That's 100%. Just me. I'm audio visual all the time. So
yeah. And I'm exactly the same way with that. And I will, if I'm really into it, I can read a book, but for the most part, it's all audio.
Yeah.
And audio and visual YouTube is a great invention that literally has saved me 1,000 times.
YouTube University.
Yeah, man. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing is that I
have a doctorate in that.
I crack up because I'll talk to younger guys that work for me and they're like, well, I don't know how to do this. Dude, YouTube it. Like, I'm not some smart guy. Yeah. Like literally YouTube it.
Yeah.
Like that's all that it takes.
And now they got AI. Yeah. It's just, there.
Yeah. But going back to the test and stuff too, that was a big thing for me to overcome when I took the test for a real estate license exam is I actually got the help that I needed.
Yeah.
And got, separate room away from everyone else, was able to have a test taker with me, reading out questions out loud, stuff like that. And back then when I was in college, I never wanted to take those extra steps. I was always embarrassed about having to do it. And I was also always trying to push through of, no, I can do it this way. I can do it that way. I can be like everybody else.
Yeah.
And looking back at that, I wish I could just shake that guy and be like, no, dude, just do it. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it was a different time too, that they didn't have it was looked at a little bit differently, and there wasn't as necessarily the same easiest accommodations with everything. But now, passing that exam, everything like that, I'm glad that I did what I did. And it's worked out. So it's good.
So when you did the real estate, like school stuff, was it kind of like that same thing? Were you doing the audio?
So school wise, it had to be pretty much similar, but I got extra tutoring and just paid for the extra tutoring to do that, which was super helpful. And Chamberlain real estate Chamberlain, around here. They did what's the course called before the
I absolutely did that. If you're trying to get into real estate, go to Chamberlain and do that class. It's you literally log on to a Zoom at like 8 a.m. and you're there until 5 p.m. and it's a cram session.
Crash course. Yeah. So I did that, and that was helpful, and everything ready to go. But then when I took it the first time, it was funny. I took it the first time and I barely missed it. Like I did the math and it was like, it maybe was a question, maybe two that I missed. And so I'm going through it with my tutor. He's like, dude, this. He's like, honestly, this is just test anxiety. Just take it tomorrow again, and you're going to pass. Yeah. So I literally got it, like somehow I got in like another week after that, and I retook it and I passed no problem the second time.
The interesting thing for me too is just because I remember when I took the Chamberlain crash course, it was interesting. There were other people in there that were going for their broker's license. Yeah. And I thought that was weird. I'm like, shouldn't they be in an advanced class or something like that? But
no, it's the same thing, just a longer class. A longer test.
A longer test. Yeah. So I went and I just did all of my courses for that and everything. So I'm waiting to get the test date if the DRE would hurry up with their paperwork. Hi guys.
I'm looking into that too. I might do that because it's a great extra extension to have under your belt.
I said to myself, like when I got mine, that like, you know what, I'm going to go and do it. And I think what's great about it is it's like you just keep sharpening your tool set is the metaphor that I use with it. And it's just like little things. Like I thought one of the most interesting ones, you jump into a course about like, industrial versus commercial versus residential real estate. And you learn about like managing those different properties and like, what goes into each one. And I found it fascinating. And when you talked about like malls and you're like, this question came up and it's like, okay, who pays more in rent? Macy's or the little store next to Macy's? And I was like, I think Macy's. And it's like, nope, the little store next to Macy's pays more because that's the flagship store that's bringing everyone there. Exactly. And then it's just, I was like, that's so wild to me, but it makes like sense, but it's just, it's like little things like that. Dude, check it out. I went through Calibri Real Estate, which used to be Real Estate Express. It's all online. So I would literally come home. I started last July, like July 26th or something like that. And there were like 7 courses. Luckily for me, because when you take the real estate schooling package, right? Yeah. You have principles, practice, and then you choose an elective. I chose law, real estate law, and that got to hop over to my broker's
You're probably
school.
The only person that chose law out of those electives. Yeah.
So it's like I didn't have to take it again. So I went down to like 6 classes, and I mean I learned a lot. And so I'm just I'm ready to take it. But I'd recommend like just kind of jumping in there. And just it's nice because then on your marketing stuff you get to have like broker's associate, of course, just keep learning. And I know there's all these little other certificates and stuff. And so it's just like I had Nancy on here the other week. Okay. And she was like the best thing.
She's my title rep too.
Yeah. She's great. Hi, Nance. The thing that she said is like, she's been in this business for like, a long time. And she said, I'm constantly always learning things. And she's like, and that's what I love about this business is because you never stop learning. Yeah. And it's like, once you kind of like have that drill into your brain, it's like, okay, what else can I learn? It's like, it's that
thing. Was a big shell shocking thing getting into the business is realizing there's literally 100 different things you can do with your license. Yeah. And there's so many different avenues that you can take it. Yeah. Which I love. Like I love learning all those little avenues that you can go. But it was a big thing of like, wait, what am I going to do over here? What am I going to do over there? And yeah, luckily Jeff straightened me out and is like, no, just do this.
Yeah.
But along the way, it's like, I'm getting off track. It's like, well, I want to try this. I want to try that. I want to try this. Because there's 100 different things you can do with your license.
Oh yeah. So Sammy Mosier, my cousin. Hi, Sam. She told me
property management.
Yeah, she went and got her broker's license because eventually at some point she'll probably end up taking over that business. Once her folks retire. But she told me, she's like, I have to have a broker's license in order to run that company.
Yeah.
So I went and took the test, and I was like, I didn't know that. And then my grandmother just passed away, and we're in the middle of dealing with all the properties. So then I'm starting to think, so it's just, if there's a way that I can help out the folks, it's like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Kind of thing too.
100%. Yeah, I've looked in those different avenues too. And property management's one that's kind of caught my eye a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the whole, like, I'm fine with just doing like my own and a few here and there. But the whole business, I'm not sure. Yeah. Bless Sammy and bless anyone that is in that full time. It's quite the gig.
So what were like some of the other avenues before Jeff kind of like, it's like go this way?
So that's the thing is that because the brokerage I was at before, because I was at a brokerage before I went to the agency. And, you get, when there's no guidance, right? Which where I was at before, it was great. Honestly, it's a great place. They do a phenomenal job over there. What wasn't good for me is it wasn't very hands-on, which is exactly like what Jeff is. Jeff's hands-on and will answer every stupid question you have, go through it with you 100 times.
That's what I love about him.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Literally that point.
Yeah. And so that's what I've
had a lot of stupid questions.
And me too. And when you're going through this and you're I was at a bigger place, they don't have the same time and energy. And where their time and energy spent, which I completely get running a business, is the top producers. Right. And so in the beginning, it's like, well, am I going to be a listing agent? I'm going to be a buyer's agent. Wait, I need to do both. Should I do property management? Should I do this? Should I do that? And so your head's just spinning of where do I spend my time? And, Jeff is learn the contract. That's where you start. Spend your time with that. And so, that's literally was probably my first full year with him, was knowing that contract ins and out. And then also on the side of that, I spent a good year running a good comp and learning how to run a good comp, which a lot of realtors out there do not know how to run a good comp. And so that was a big thing for me, is knowing that and still learning it. I just recently have upgraded to, now I run a cloud CMA, it's called. And it runs through everything way more detail. And so I've just added that to my tool belt. There's so much more that goes into it. It's just crazy. And why you don't just learn that in the beginning, I don't really know, unless you have somebody like we have in our office here who's teaching you those things along the way.
I know.
So that was a big thing for me. And I'm happy that it's funny. I barely knew what the agency was. And it just was literally by complete coincidence and luck that I ended up here. And a guy who I do business with, who's my mentor as well over here, I was in transition. I was getting ready to renew my dues and everything. I'm looking at stuff. I'm like, wait, what am I really getting? What kind of education am I getting? So I gave him a call, just, chew it up with him and figure out what he's saying. He's like, hey, I just switched over. Why don't you go talk to my mentor, Jeff, and see what he can do for you? And literally meeting Jeff in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, yes, I want to go work with this guy, 100%. And, like you said, his energy is just different. And, I learned more in the first 6 months here than I did the entire time, because that's where I was on my own, again, like that brokerage is great. It's just, I was on my own. And, if I'm going to tell anybody that's new, the first thing that I will say is mentorship and your manager are the most important things you can possibly have as a new realtor. 100%. And if I can go back, I would have started over and done it a little bit differently, but it is what it is.
I mean, like, coming in here too, like I was looking at stuff over the hill, like over there in Santa Cruz, and, I went into all the different ones and nothing just really stuck with me. And I came over here and it was the same thing with Jeff. And then I remember, I think it was Kari. She brought out like a piece of paper with all of his accolades that he did. And it was like 2 pages. Do you remember that? And she handed it to us.
I didn't even know any of that. I literally knew none of that. All I knew is when we talked about some of the stuff that he did with Steve Jobs and things like that. But I didn't read any of that until later on. which, that's kind of how I am, is more of just kind of gut feeling with stuff, and where God's going to take me.
Yeah.
And the way I, meeting with him and everything else that we talked about, so I was like, cool. And then I looked up stuff later. I was like, holy shit, what did I get myself into? This is awesome. Right.
I know.
And so, like literally just couldn't be, it's a miracle I ended up here. Right.
Yeah. No, I was just like super like, signed on board. And then we got this piece and it's like seeing everything that he did. And I was just like, okay, now it all makes like sense.
Yeah.
It's to that point. It's like, you want to have someone that like knows everything. He knows everything. And I bring this story up because it just speaks to what this company's about and how Jeff runs his office. I was on broker's tour and Margaret was with me and forget a couple others, but it was just right when the new the laws were coming out with
the NAR settlement.
The NAR settlement. And we're at this house and there were the top like brokers from like the area, and they were all asking Jeff like, so what's going on?
Yeah.
We don't know. And Jeff's like explaining it. And Margaret and I are like, could answer these questions.
Right.
Confidently.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, I've had a few people reach out to me on Instagram being like, hey, I see what you're doing. Like, can you tell me a little bit more about the agency? I'm going to reference you to this segment in the podcast. Like, and Ben can speak to this too. It's just like, it's that next level of if you really want to like separate yourself from other agents, it's just being educated and knowing the contract.
100%.
Mauricio said that right off the bat. He was like, study that thing, memorize it. It's like that's the bloodline of this whole entire.
Yeah. That's industry. What I love too about and appreciate about Mauricio, who's the CEO, obviously. He knows that contract back and forth.
Yeah.
And also too, he still sells.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody else doing that, right? At that high of a level. And that's how, Jeff, who he's managing right now more than anything, right? But his history with everything is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's why what I'll say is that if you are looking and you are starting, the interview process with the manager is, what have you done?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are you selling? Because sometimes in their position, they are great managers and I give them complete credit for that. But what else is their background to help you out when you're in the middle of a transaction and something's going sour and they've already dealt with it because they have the experience and they say, oh, just do this, that, and the other. There's plenty of times where like I'm panicky and Jeff's just like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, we'll just do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
All right. I don't need to be stressed out as much as I am. Right.
Yeah, I know. It's to that point. It's like call them up like 50 times going back and forth and just try to like, like, am I doing this right? Yes. Am I doing this right? Yes. Am I doing this right? Yes. Do this. Okay. It's just like, it's great to, have them there.
I just recently had to have them hop on the phone too. And that's also how available are these guys as well. Right. So I just recently, in the afternoon, middle of the day, something was going wrong where I'm talking with my client, I'm figuring it out. And I'm going over a lot of the same stuff that Jeff has told me before, and I'm saying the right things, but I just need that second voice in there that has more of the experience. I'm texting up like, hey, are you texting Jeff? Like, are you available? Can I get you on the phone right now? He goes like, yeah, call me.
Yeah.
Like instantly, right? Has a 10-minute conversation, completely done, over with. Everything's calmed down. Right.
Yep.
And it's like, this is exactly why that I'm here and doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Same to that point. I had him hop on a call too and everything. Yeah. It's just like that's what I love about this office, and it's a really great group and the whole like collaborative, atmosphere of everything. It's like, it's really neat.
Yeah. What's cool too about our office as well is we have great top producers here that you can talk with them about anything at any point in time, right?
100%.
Where I was at before, you couldn't really do that. And I get it too. Like, that's the thing is, I get it. You're at a high level. You're so busy. You can barely keep up with what you're doing, right? How often are you really going to get those questions answered, right? But around here, we have such a great, family, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a family office. That's the best way to say it, right?
Yeah.
And you could ask people anything. And, these people are top producers. They've been in the business for years. And at any point in time, you can pick their brain. Yeah. So it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. The learning never stops.
Yes.
That's totally it. That's totally it. So where do you like to kind of like focus like your sales on? Do you have a particular niche in Silicon Valley? I know you did the duplex over in Santa Cruz, so you're all over the, like, do you have like an area?
So area wise, I'm still, a little bit all over the place with stuff, but definitely Bay Area, San Jose, Santa Cruz. I just love Santa Cruz. I mean, obviously Santa Cruz native, you can understand that. Eventually I would like to get a little bit more Monterey area. But right now it's more Bay Area and Santa Cruz. It just ended up that way. It's one of those things that I realized you try to stick with one thing and you're not also just letting what the universe is bringing you, like accepting it. And so finally when I got in a rhythm and stuff is like, oh, I'm going to Santa Cruz. Oh, I'm in the San Jose. Oh, I'm going back to Santa Cruz. And, I'm not trying to control where I'm going, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it.
Just going with the flow.
And I didn't plan necessarily to that. I've actually, my niche has been more on the listing side, which is rare with somebody that's, been in the business only 4 years, right?
Yeah, no, you've been crushing it. Dude.
Yeah. Usually it's buyer side of everything. But for me, the buyer side, I'm still doing it. But it's definitely something that I'm still working on. And the listing side, it's been way more natural for me. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, the business side of stuff and the entrepreneur side of thing is, okay, there's this place, which is like your business, and how are you going to set that up? How are you going to market it? How are you going to get people there? How are you going to, this area is different. It's a 12,000 square foot lot versus the 6,000 square foot lot. How are you going to sell that? Right. Yeah. How's that product going to be different? So that's why for me, it's just kind of completely come full circle of like, okay, you're good at this, just keep rolling with that.
Yeah.
And the rest will keep working out itself. But I do also too, I am still learning and getting into the duplex side of things and multifamily homes. I love that because it's a completely different customer where you're dealing with investors, but you're not dealing with necessarily a high-end investor.
Yeah.
You're dealing with regular people that are investors that are starting out. They're just getting their first duplex. They're just getting their first investment opportunity.
Yeah.
So I really have enjoyed doing that. And I really enjoyed doing those. I just did 2 last year in Santa Cruz. I've really enjoyed doing that. It was really fun because it's a completely different customer. Yeah. And I really vibe with those people too, because they're just so business minded at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So those have been my niches that I'm just continuing to nurture and grow with and go from there. And still learn everything else because there's a million other things to do.
Yeah. It's interesting, like going on broker's tour and going into some of these homes too. Like, have you driven down into like Montalvo? Have you been on that?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Did you go into that one house that looked like Bruce Wayne, like Batman's manor?
No.
So it was on the market for like, I think like 15 million. And I always I remember, I had a Manaz kind of driving me, showing me the neighborhoods when we first got in here. And I went down that street. I was just completely like blown away. And I looked at that house. I'm like, that's literally like something like Batman would be, like, no joke. It's like, it's his house, And then it popped up on the market. And I remember going through it. It's like all Gothic on the inside and everything. And it's just like, who's going to buy that? You know what I mean? It's like, it has to be a very specific person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, It was cool. It's interesting to see some of these unique homes that have like personalities to them. What are some that you've like kind of seen?
Well, so that's the thing you have to just bring out what is unique about that house. Right. And so I picked this up from Mauricio in his book is you tell the story right away. So a lot of stuff too, like, especially in the beginning of stages, I won't leave a lockbox on right away. I'll do the showings because I want to be the one showing it. I don't want just the buyer's agent who just, they're a great agent, but they're just seeing that house for the first time. How are they going to sell that? You're just seeing it for the first time. So I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to give you the vision of, the property that I just sold recently. It does need a little remodeling work. I'm going to talk about, hey, I'm going to remodel this. I'm going to do that. You could easily put this there. So I'm going to create that vision right away. And that's how I'll run my open houses too of, this TV easily comes down in the backyard. You just click this button. It's easily to set up with your family. I'm going to tell that story so they can see it because you're not going to buy anything if you can't envision yourself being with your family there,
yeah,
and having parties and doing those things,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I want to tell that story more than anything and have that opportunity to sell it.
Yeah. It's to that point. We were on broker's tour, I think like a week or two ago, and there was this one house like up in the hills, and it had this really pretty view. Like you could see all the way down to like San Francisco, like the whole entire, 9 yards. But it was fascinating because in the backyard, and it was like up on this peninsula of the hill, it had a little railroad track. And I was like, what's that for? And the listing agent came out like you said you do, and walked the property with us and explained to us that this house was like built with this mining cart that's still there on the property.
Oh, that's so cool.
And the tracks. And so when they were logging, they had that going up into the hill, and they brought all of the supplies down on this cart and helped build the house. And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's the stories like that.
Yeah. And people want to be able to tell that story to when they are living and they have their friends over, when they're living there and they have their friends over, they want to be able to tell that story. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Right? It's a part of history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
that's awesome.
That's totally it, and it's all those like sales techniques too. Like I love you're showing someone a house and they're like, oh yeah, you see the tree in the backyard? It'd be perfect for a swing for your new little baby. You're implanting the seed kind of in their head, but it's just, it gets the
It needs to
done.
change too. That I did this open house and there was this little small weird room. Like it was this tiny room that you could do a sewing room there. You could do an office.
What's it for?
Yeah. What's it for? Right. And everyone that came in, no matter depending on what they, who's coming in, are they coming in with a kid? That's a playroom. Are they coming in just husband and wife? This is a perfect office.
Yeah.
Could be a yoga room, right?
Yeah.
So it's the way you paint that picture that's just extremely important.
Yeah. There was a house that I was hosting open houses for in Almaden with Aaron. It was Rick Z's listing. And it was the guy that lived there was a contractor, and it was like he lived there with his family for 35 years, and they had 8 kids, 8 boys. Wow. It was a full-on basketball team plus recruits. You know what I mean? It was like that. And so they had a bunch of rooms. The weird part, because it was a weird room and we didn't know how to what to do with it. It was used for storage, but you go upstairs to the primary, and there used to be another room, but they knocked down the walls. And so it opened up to this private living room for the primary bedroom. But there's this random door and you walk up to it and open it. And it was a whole storage room, but it went down the entire length of the house.
Yeah.
And so it seemed kind of creepy and ominous. And there's one of those chain lights, that you turn on, and it wasn't insulated. So it was really hot, and it just it didn't fit the vibe of the rest of the house. The rest of the house was this is gorgeous. Look at this. But they're what is this room? Right. And so we're literally just on the door, storage, I didn't know what else to put it or it could have been a game room or something like that, but it's it's to those points, it's just there's interesting layouts with homes. That's what I've kind of seen where why is this put here,
and that's the thing, is that every person's going to come in that place and change it up how they want, but they have to fall in love with the place before they do that,
most importantly.
So it's your job as a realtor to have them fall in love with something in that house, right? Now the kitchen may not be perfect, but you can change that. This may not be perfect, but that railroad track up there, that's the coolest thing ever. I'm going to tell all my friends about that, right? So it's those little things that you have to pick up on.
Yeah. It's there was another, did you get a chance to go up to see Mara McCain's listing with Mauricio up in
No,
Palo Alto?
I couldn't make it.
Dude, that was wild. It looked like it was literally a palace, going in there where they had just artwork from all around the world,
That's cool.
Africa, and just, cool masks in these paintings. And the caretaker of the property was there for the open house. And we're what does this thing do? There's this giant rope, fancy looking rope, as you were going down this spiraled staircase into the main entryway. It's oh, if you pull that, the skylight opens up.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
awesome.
A huge glass dome and just opens up and it lets all the air in. I'm that's crazy. And it's go outside. It's a Roman Gothic pool,
Yeah.
It's crazy. Some of the properties up here in the hills, like you wouldn't suspect like they're there, but they have like that equivalent of like the Beverly Hills, Bel Air like vibe. It's just they're tucked away, they're hidden up there. So it's kind of like fascinating.
That's just so crazy to me of how it's changed so much is you have these 15 million, 20 plus $million properties, but then you still have the regular 600 million, $2 million properties that are just regular suburban life, right? But you know, our suburban life here, you know, 1 million, 2 million above, right? And it's just so different how unique the little pockets are around the entire area.
It's interesting. I love like, I'd love to go down to, I know you went and kind of like walk by it, but I'd love to go to the Carmel office and go.
Yeah. I've gone down there a couple times.
Yeah. I went to school briefly at, Robert Louis Stevenson High School. It's like Pebble Beach is like a little private one. I just couldn't do the commute.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
That's such a beautiful area.
Dude, I remember driving down there, going through 17 Mile Drive. And there's this one house that was on this peninsula. And I think it was a couple blocks away from Ghost Tree. That's right down there. And it took up a whole block.
Yeah.
And you're just like, one of those like Wolf of Wall Street moments where it's like, show me your pay stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was like that. It's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
what's crazy too is there's houses like that. And then there's the little regular tiny house that's just on the corner. And Carmel's so unique. It's absolutely incredible over there. Yeah. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. This is kind of like my first, when I was younger, like introduction to real estate. I had a friend who they had a really nice house in Scotts Valley. And they ended up selling it to be closer to Robert Louis Stevenson because he was really good at golf. And like RLS, like freshman year, he was starting varsity. UCLA was looking at him already. It was crazy. But it was interesting to me because it's like going there and seeing the new house. It was like this little small shack on the golf course compared to what they had. But that was like my first kind of like eye-opening moment where it's like when they say location.
100%.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense. But yeah, I love it down there. It's gorgeous. I'd love to go to the Concours d'Elegance. Have you been before?
No.
Love to go. You know what it is?
No.
Giant car show.
Oh, okay.
It's the big one down there where they unveil. Are you a car guy?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Yeah.
It's just like they showcase all the new cars and stuff, and they have them all on the greens and everything and whatnot. It's
the only thing I've done is like Woody's on the Wharf in Santa Cruz.
Dude, that's so much fun.
Yeah. That's
such
a cool car
vibe.
show. Yeah.
That's such a vibe. I know. And then that piece of the wharf is gone.
I know.
Did you see the video?
Oh yeah. I was watching it with my wife like a million times. Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
There's like that dude that like went down on it and then it was like floating off to the side or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I think some dude in a jet ski like just came up and picked the guy up.
Thank God everyone was okay with that too.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's wild because, you know, Capitola gone.
Yeah.
Like all of these piers are starting to go and they're like, yeah, we're not going to rebuild them. And I'm like, it's sad, but like at the same time, it's like, the wood is like over 100 years old.
Yeah, I get it, but it's sad because it's such a part of history.
Yeah.
That you would think that they would reduce
some like
something,
cement,
right?
Yeah.
There's a way to rebuild something, right? And I understand it because things are a lot more expensive with everything, but there's a way to do it. There's a way. I hope that they figure it out. But even like Westcliff Drive, which my wife and I love going there.
Oh yeah.
We stay along that Westcliff Drive a lot. Just has been crushed. Just tons of times recently.
Just literally like while the taping of this is Mother's Day, like I was with my folks and we just got done with lunch. I was like, hey, you guys want to drive along Westcliff? I hadn't done it in a minute. Like, yeah. Sure. And it was from those storms a couple years ago that just took at Mother Nature, dude. It's like no joke. And it's just, you know, eventually those homes, man, you kind of wonder. It's like, when is the next storm going to be that's going to take the house down?
But that just goes into I think they could build something there that could help continue to prevent that. They probably will, because that's such the way that connects there. They're going to have to, because it's like, it's a main street. Like this isn't something that could just go away, right? It's a main street. You got to rebuild something right
I know. It's going to be interesting because it'll get to the point where they're like, we have to save the real estate. So what can we do? Yeah. And it's like, you want to preserve the beauty of the cliffs, but those rock cliffs are eventually going to fall into the ocean.
Yeah.
So what do? Well, let's put up a concrete wall. Well, that looks ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that conversation probably will happen in the next 20, 30 years.
Right. Right.
See where that kind of goes.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. And it's going to take years and years and years to just get them to agree on anything.
Yeah. I mean, like, even like the cement ship too. They had that whole entire pier that went out there.
I used to be a kid walking out on that.
Go on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then slowly they fence it off.
Yeah.
And you could walk straight up to it still. But then it was like, no, we're going to push it back.
Yeah.
Push it back. And then that just came. And I remember watching the video of the bow break off and fall on its side.
Yeah.
That was
it's like gut wrenching too. Cause you grew up as a kid, right? Like I didn't even grow up in Santa Cruz, but we used to go there. Right.
Yeah.
Like, you walking it, I fished off that thing, like,
all the sea lions, all the birds and everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy though. So when I got my drone license, I was like, I want to go take some videography of like all this stuff. Dude, great white sharks love swimming around that. I literally saw like 3 or 4 in the water just circling. It's probably because the seals are, sitting up there, but like, did you ever go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium? Did you ever see the great white shark pup when it was in there in the Outer Reef Bay?
Yeah.
That was intimidating, dude.
Yeah. I think they ended up having to move that shark out because it was eating the other fish too, right? So we just caught it. Me and my wife went, and we like a week after that, they're like, it's gone. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Like, you're not just going to keep a great white shark in a big tank with other fish, right? It's going to do what it does. Yeah.
Dude, you know what else is really cool? Winchester Mystery House.
Yep.
When was the first time you went as a kid?
Oh, as a kid, I didn't go. I went later on with my wife.
Yeah. What were your thoughts about it?
Oh, I love Winchester. Yeah, we still go. We actually go almost once a year there. We absolutely love it.
It's cool.
We went on the we did the Halloween one this year.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was that cool?
You know what? It's cool. It's an experience. But like stuff jumping out at me and things like that.
They had people in there jumping?
It was wild.
No way.
Yeah. It was actually the first time they did it, and it was pretty wild.
Okay, shoot. Yeah, I gotta go to that. That sounds like fun.
You know what one was really cool was the Christmas one was one of my favorite. And if they do it again, go check it out because it's a self-guided tour. So there's tour guys around, but you're on your own and you just walk through at your own pace. So it can get really eerie in the dark, and the only thing that's lit up is some Christmas trees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's cool too, like scenery wise. There's a Christmas tree in almost every different room has a different type.
Yeah.
And there's different lights throughout the whole house and stuff like that. But yeah, I absolutely love Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I heard, I think it was maybe about a year or 2 ago, 3 years ago, that they found a room.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah. And
is that on tour now?
I think so. I think that one's
on tour.
I'd love to see that. And then they found like the stained glass that's the glass that's like there. Why am I drawing a blank on it?
I haven't been in a minute, so I got it.
But it's the art glass. It's like the sun glass. It's like anyways, it's like absolutely gorgeous there, right? Mm-hmm. And they found a different receipt. And so they were able to track down to like it was sold somewhere in San Francisco or something like that. So in that room, they found like an original receipt that for years they've been telling people of where they thought it came from.
Oh.
But it changed. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of cool history there too with the earthquake and everything like that. So like there was
what happened with that?
There was a chimney there that completely got demolished during not the 87 earthquake. Yeah. But there was one before that years ago. I forget the year, but it completely demolished it. But that was cool. Like, so she stopped building. Sarah Winchester stopped building there because she thought it was the spirits that did the earthquake and stuff like that too. So
you never know, man.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You never know.
Yeah, yeah. I actually think if you go into a lot of the history with stuff, I actually will say I think a lot of it is a little bit animated. And, it's been a long time. So I think there's a lot of different stories that are changed.
Yeah.
But one thing that they get into with the tour that I like the most is she was really, really great at taking care of all of her workers there. So people worked for her because she gave them more money than the average wages back then. And a lot of them stayed on the property too. So they were able to get free living, and they worked for her.
In the house?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there was little places for them to stay and stuff like that too.
That's cool.
And when she passed away, a lot of workers were at the funeral and, and
where's she buried? Really, is she on the property?
I don't know where she's buried at. I don't know.
That's interesting.
And a lot of stuff too, like
Mr. Winchester.
That's not the original. That's not the original furniture there too, because the furniture was sold in an estate sale.
Oh.
And the property itself, that property, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
The rest of that area was all hers. So although it was acres and acres, and it was sold off through the years. So Santana Row basically she owned part of that at some point in time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into that. So yeah.
The history of it, it's like super cool and fascinating.
Yeah. San Jose history right there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You wonder how much the house would be if it was on the open market.
Right.
You know 100%. What I mean? Yeah. It'd be interesting.
It's been a couple different people that have bought it too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how many.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, man.
This is fun.
Yeah. I'm glad we got to do it.
Yeah. Cool if we put your contact information below if anybody wants to reach out to you and you want to help buy or sell your home with this guy right here, or 100%. If you have any baseball inquiries with I'll put all your
if
stuff. If
you ever want to come in the batting cage, just hit me up too.
Cool.
Yeah,
dude, that'd be fun. We should get an agency party.
I know.
And go to the batting cages. That'd be fun.
Definitely.
I haven't hit a ball in a minute. It'd be kind of fun. Well, cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really does help us out here at the Red Room Podcast, and we will see you next time. Cool. Later.